I lost 20 pounds over the summer with a pretty aggressive program that I'm going to explain here. It took me about 10 weeks, and I want to tell you exactly what I did. So about mid-April, I was 199 pounds. Muscle mass is good because I've been training calisthenics consistently for quite a long time now, but my body composition has never quite been where I would really like it to be. And it's really difficult to make the necessary changes when you're older. Not so much because your physiology has changed compared to when you were younger, which it has to some degree, but really much more, I think, because your behavior patterns, the ones that have gotten you to where you are, which is not where you want to be, are so ingrained. You've had so much experience doing whatever you've been doing to get you where you are. For me, I didn't have a lot to change. 199, I'm 6 foot tall. I was going for somewhere in the mid 170s or so. So what I did was really three things. I followed the advice in a K. Boge's video that I'm going to link down below, called Nutritional Principles for Staying Lean. And it's really three main things. Number one is to eat real food. Number two is to prioritize protein, and number three is to compress your eating window or reduce your meal frequency. So those are the things I did. So what do we mean by real food? I mean, I don't want to go into too much detail about food choices because there's just a lot of polarization and really a lot of emotion wrapped around your food choices. So I want to keep it simple. What I did was consistent with what I know, which is to eat foods that basically would have been found on my uncle's farm. I grew up with an aunt and uncle who were farmers. We spent a lot of time with them on their farm. I mean, they raised crops commercially, but they also had livestock and a huge garden and fruit trees. And so basically, whatever they had there is and produced is what I would consider real food. Or in other words, another way to think of it is things your great-grandmother would recognize as food. And I'm going to show a few pictures here and there of some of the dishes. I like to cook, so most of my food I put together myself. Real food, number one. Number two, prioritizing protein. This one's harder for me because I don't like to measure or weigh or count calories or count macronutrient components or anything like that. So I just try to make sure that a good source of protein was the centerpiece of whatever I ate. And the third one was reduced meal frequency or intermittent fasting or whatever you want to call it. And before I started, I was eating pretty much 3 meals a day and maybe a snack here and there. So I reduced it down to 2. I was ultimately shooting for 1 meal a day, or OMAD. I never got there. And what I did was I ate 2 meals, tried to cut out snacks completely, and then I tried to sort of over time slowly tighten the window between meal 1 and meal 2, so that I ended up with lunch around 1 or 2 in the afternoon, sometimes 3, and then dinner around 5:30 or 6. And then what I tried to do after that is make one meal kind of as big as I wanted it to be, until I was totally full, and then the other meal I tried to keep small. So I didn't stuff myself, and no seconds, and used a small plate. That's the approach that I took. It worked really well. The weight started coming off pretty rapidly, probably water at the beginning. But I stayed consistent and weighed myself maybe every 4 or 5 days or so. And I would usually see at least a 1 to 2 pound reduction steadily. And this went on for about 10 weeks. So by 10 weeks, I had lost 20 pounds. This was mid-July, or early July, I think. I had lost about 20 pounds. And I was feeling pretty good, but also tired. Not too hungry all the time, and not too strong. But it was working, and that was the plan. But by 10 weeks in, I plateaued. I stopped losing weight, despite staying consistent. my workouts were the same as they were before, which is, you know, 3 hard sets of push-pull and legs every day. So by the 10-week period, I plateaued. I stopped losing weight. I was feeling really tired, and this went on for a couple of weeks. Really, I stayed consistent with the approach, but did not lose any more weight, and was feeling pretty tired. So I decided to give it a rest and change my approach. So I figured it's just going to continue this way, and I'll just keep feeling tired and not really losing like I want to. So I switched it around at that point and went with a kind of a high energy flux approach. So I said more input and more output. So I dropped the 2 meals a day, kept real food of course, but went back to 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, without really worrying about the timing. Eating as much as I felt like I needed, trying to just really address hunger more than anything else, using internal cues, and I increased my output as well. So that was the idea: more energy in and more energy out. So during the diet phase, I was doing my calisthenics. I was also walking at least 10,000 steps a day. So at the plateau point, I brought the meals back up to 3 meals a day, as much as I really wanted, and I moved to 15,000 steps a day. And I moved from 3 hard sets of push-pull and squats or legs every day to a kind of a density approach, or a sort of high rep under time pressure kind of a model. So this is basically where you are taking a set period of time that you're planning for your workout, and then you're picking whatever exercises you're going to be doing, and you try to get as many reps as you can in that period of time. So let's say you pick 20 minutes or you pick 30 minutes is usually what I would do. And I would usually do 2 exercises and superset them in that period, like push-ups and pull-ups, for example, or squats and knee raises, something like that. And I would just try to get as many reps as possible. There's a real kind of art to this. You don't want to go all out at the beginning, because then you'll be spending 15 minutes doing sets of 1 or 2. So you kind of pace yourself. It might be, for example, 10 push-ups and 5 pull-ups, and then rest 20-30 seconds and do it again. I had the best luck with choosing a rep range that I knew would feel real easy at the beginning, but over time it would be harder and harder, but I could still keep that rep range through the entire 30 minutes or whatever it is. So that was usually something like 10 push-ups and 5 pull-ups, or maybe 20 squats and 10 knee raises, and just keep going. Usually I'd end up in the half-hour period of time with a couple hundred reps of each exercise. So that's the idea. It's a high volume under time approach, or density. You can Google it if you want to. Escalating density training, I think, is the technical term, because what you want to do is keep track of your rep counts and see if you can beat that over time. So you consistently try to do more reps in the same amount of time, or another way to do it is to keep the same rep total but decrease the time. I really enjoyed this, and in the time since early July, when my weight loss plateaued and I started with more energy in and more energy out, I've been happy to say, and this is kind of the most important piece for me here, is that I've maintained this weight loss, and without really worrying too much about how much I'm eating at all, really, and keeping with these high intensity workouts that I'm enjoying right now. With the extra energy in and out, I actually feel better. I feel more refreshed and less tired throughout the day, and so I'm really happy with this approach, and I'm just going to maintain it now until I want to make the next move. So I would advise, if you want to try this, be careful. It is challenging. It's not something, the 2 meal a day and the real tight window. There are plenty of people who can maintain this indefinitely, but I'm not one of them. I found it really pretty challenging. It's just difficult to kind of feel restricted all the time, and like willpower is something you're always thinking about. So if that's how you look at it, you might want to be careful. And if you've never done anything like this, hit me up in the comments below, or send me an email, and I could give you some suggestions on how you would ease into it. I don't think you should go cold turkey and just start tomorrow. I could also give you some ideas on food choices and how to make it easier for yourself. But in the long run, I was thinking a lot about this and kind of came to the conclusion that what I'm doing now is of more value to me, since I got something close to the weight loss goal that I wanted. Now eating more or less without restriction, although my food choices are still good. I don't go crazy with junk or anything like that. Is really where I'd like to be as a 57-year-old. I just want to enjoy life and kind of have a more or less normal approach to eating. And honestly, my clients, my future clients, the people who I think are interested in training with me are probably people who are not going to want to make really drastic food changes, or make take extreme measures. Really more of a kind of gradual approach that really fits more in with what we're all used to generally in life, which is 3 meals a day, and eating without worrying about eating something that might be considered unhealthy from time to time, and really having food and eating be a positive thing in your life, a happy thing, and something that you share with other people, rather than sort of something that you feel guilty about and basically stress yourself out over. So that's my take on the whole thing. So I think what I'm going to do now, since I'm 20 pounds down from where I started, I'm at about 180, and it's pretty good. But if I wanted to try this again, I will probably keep my 3 meals a day and make adjustments, subtle ones, and see how that works, and continue with the high, the density training, which I'm really enjoying right now. So that's it for now. Like I said, please do email me or comment below or something like that if you want to talk about this, and I can get you some ideas on how you might give it a try for yourself.